For any life simulation game, of course, the characters themselves are very critical, and in this case, Parafolk and Paralives have undergone a dramatic transformation. Today, I'm showing you just how much Parafolk have changed, and I would love to hear what your favorite iteration of Parafolk are. Now, on the off chance you didn't know, Paralives actually started as a solo project by Alex, and at this time, there were just general concepts of what Parafolk might be. This was one of the very earliest concepts of Parafolk, and I will acknowledge, shown to the public, we haven't seen much more of dogs since then in terms of the overall art style. While some people think that Parafolk looks somewhat flat now, these definitely were way more flat with a lot less dimension. In addition, there aren't very many specific details of the face. So overall, I would say Parafolk look very different from this first render. In January 2020, they started working on their basic character model and movements, and this is really cool just to see the inside of the process, of course. The next month, in February 2020, we got a look at accessories and texture customization. You can change textures and colors of lots of things in this game, from build mode and of course Paramaker. And I will admit this was an exciting time, and there were lots of questions exactly what the Parafolk were going to look like. Got a little bit more hints as what it might look like with this hair reveal, so this hair customization got a lot of people talking. Then in May of 2020, this was probably one of the most exciting times, honestly, following Paralyzed development, because we got the first reveal of a Parafolk in-game. This, believe it or not, was Maggie's debut, and I say believe it or not because at the end we're going to compare Maggie now versus Maggie then. We learned there was going to be a height slider in the game, and yes, I think that is pretty cool. This is possible through their procedural animation system. Nonetheless, there were definitely some mixed opinions about Maggie. Now, me personally, at this time, I wasn't sure how I felt about the appearance. I definitely liked the environment. I was unsure about the Parafolk, but I definitely was willing to overlook it. I did acknowledge there was a certain cuteness to the style. I didn't hate it, but to be honest, I didn't fully love it either. And of course, gameplay is most important to me, so it was not a turnoff, but I was curious to see how this might develop in the future. I think at the time I kind of assumed that it might develop a little bit, but not change very dramatically. And I know to this day, some people still prefer this original style most. So if you are one of those people, definitely comment below and tell me what you like most about it. Now, I would argue we already saw somewhat of a change to Parafolk in July of 2020. And here we met Sebastian for the first time. Along with meeting Sebastian, we got to see the kitchen, and we got to see some customization for tattoos and facial hair. Again, a very exciting time and a very exciting year for Paralyzed overall. And in September of that tumultuous year that was 2020, we also got to see Sebastian's summer. We got to see ziplining, and we got to see removing shoes in the house, and also a secret passageway. These are features that I haven't seen revisited, so I would be interested to know if we are going to officially get them in game. And in December of 2020, I would argue we saw yet another shift, so they're working all year long, changing what the Parafolk looked like, and of course their animations. And here they said they improved the skin texture of Parafolk. So whether or not you consider it an improvement, it definitely is a difference. And to this day, I actually think this is my favorite style of Parafolk. That might be an unpopular opinion, but this was my favorite period in terms of their overall appearance. Later on, I would really like some of the hairs that they developed and some other features, but overall, this was my very favorite look, and I would love to know if anyone else shares that as well. Of course, it's also fun to see a festive video and also the features such as mismatched socks. In 2021, though, they changed their Parafolk yet again. In February, they gave it a new body and face modifications. And in August of 2021, we got new body sliders, new skin textures, and new makeup. So once again, this was yet another notable transformation. Note these body sliders, it was kind of cool. They were just showing the extremes you could go. You can make tons of different types of Parafolk, and it showed that the sliders actually were a really customizable system. I would say it was August 2021 where we really started getting closer to our current Parafolk. Here we got new poses and animations. Of course, they're still making hair and clothing, but also physics for both clothing and hair. In November of that year, we got even more customization, but I would also say in November of 2021 is when they took on yet another kind of change in terms of the skin tone. Apparently, the blush overlay will be able to be removed, so that is good news to me because I have said many times I think it's just a bit overdone. However, you can see some other interesting notable changes here. You can see some more definition in the collarbone, for instance. It was not long after that, in December 2021 one of the other most exciting times in Paralyzed development, where we got to see the full Paramaker showcase. We even got to see a child, and of course, tons of clothing customization. And to this day, this is one of my favorite Parafolk they have ever made. Layering, I think, is just such a great feature to have in this game, or frankly, in any game, and I hope this becomes the norm for life simulation games going forward. I understand it could cause some clipping issues and it's challenging, but on the other hand, it gives you so much more versatility. In May 2022, I would argue we're kind of getting close to the stabilization of what Parafolk look like. These were a series of animations showcasing different emotions. In June 2022, we got more beard customization, and as I said before, I think we're pretty much stabilized to what Parafolk look like. We can see the stabilization further in September 2022. However, there were some modifications made at this time too. They made modifications to the overall art style and of course new hairs. And here is where I get to see some slightly more defined outlines, I would say, from the previous previews. So here in April 2023, we got to see Parafolk interact and speak with each other. Meanwhile, the next month brought the first reveal of babies and toddlers, and they have worked on these life stages since. We actually just covered a reveal if you missed it. But I do expect they will continue to make modifications to this life stage because, as you've seen, they have made so many modifications over the years to the older Parafolk. Speaking of older Parafolk, I couldn't find the exact first time we saw an elderly Parafolk, but I did like to start seeing some of these details. Fine line details, wrinkles, and also, of course, additional hairstyles. Now I'm going to speed for the next ones because I don't think there are tons of notable changes during this time. One of my favorite showcases of all time was their wedding showcase. I also loved the November 2023 showcase. I love some of the hairs and also the inclusion of a hijab, while March 2024 had a rather interesting, somewhat polarizing showcase where they had some more creative and out there items. I said at the time that I personally really appreciated it because it showed a sense of whimsy and was just different from what we've seen so far in the catalog. Moving forward to July 2024, we got some receding hairstyles. So again, continuing with the inclusion for considerations for Parafolk of different ages. And overall, they will continue to work on different ages, and so what we see now is probably not the final result. But of course, my focus has been on adult/young adult Parafolk because that's mostly what we know about publicly so far. And as you can see here is a comparison between them. We have Maggie's reveal right here. We have the 2020 reveal, which again remains my personal favorite. And finally, we have the current day Maggie. Let me know in the comments below which of those you most prefer if you haven't already. I actually do like current day Maggie in some ways slightly better than the 2020. However, I think I still like the 2020 the very best because I think it has a slightly softer look, but is still more defined than the first iteration. But overall, I do like the current Maggie. I actually really do. And I think with just a few tweaks and adjustments, I would like her even more. Now, if you did make it this far, I did want to go over their reasoning for all these changes. And I have gone over this in the past, but I think it's very important. They want a unique style that distinguishes them. When seeing our style, we want people to know it's from Paralives. They also want to make sure it serves the gameplay. At the end of the day, our main focus is on the gameplay, not the aesthetic. And notably, they want Parafolk to be quick to produce and to stand out. They have to be easy to spot even in a cluttered house, which is the reasoning they're giving for the outlines, which I know some people have mixed emotions on. They want to be quick to produce because they only have a few artists, and overall they want to support customization. Now, whether you like or dislike the art style, at the end of the day, subjective, and I think what matters the most is they make a style that makes sense for their game, and of course they do seem keen on listening to feedback. For instance, they have actually softened some of the outlines, including the back outlines and the knee outlines for some of their Parafolk. As such, I do expect us to see different looks in the future. Do I think it's going to change dramatically from now? No, I don't. I think they've gone through their most dramatic changes, at least for the young adults/adults. However, do I think they would be open to tweaking things a little bit more in the future? Sure. Overall, they need to really focus on gameplay right now, and I do think they are making good progress. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. As always, please take care, and I'll see you in the next one.